Let's get started with paddles.
All right, so for me being a swim instructor for younger kids, I see them try to use paddles, and most equipment is supposed to help you with your stroke. Well, actually, all equipment helps you with your stroke, but I see these younger kids using fins, paddles, and all sorts of equipment, and it just kind of ruins your stroke. And if you use it incorrectly, it ruins your stroke, and it ruins like how your progress, I guess, and
Like your technique and
your technique, and it also can wear and tear on your muscles and stuff like that. But for paddles, so the paddles used to help catch, get that high elbow, and just catch as much water, and I just see kids kind of just trying to go at it as hard as possible, and that's just gonna ruin your stroke, and that's just gonna wear and tear on your muscles, and that's not how you want to do it. So basically, just use that paddle, high elbow, catch as much water, and use that to help your stroke, not to ruin your stroke.
Yeah, when especially as a younger swimmer, try to find smaller paddles, right? That still get you a good pull, but don't use those bigger ones that hold way too much water, and you're just going to put strain on your shoulders. You don't want to have shoulder injuries at a younger age, so just be careful with the type of paddles you're purchasing. But probably throughout the rest of this, we're gonna reference Phoenix a lot, and we love Phoenix training gear. But of course, there's others out there that we love to talk about as well. But like Jordan said, sometimes people ruin their form and their technique with different paddles, and so what Phoenix has is they call these the fulcrum paddles, the forearm fulcrum paddles. And so what you do is you stick it through here, and then you put your fingers underneath there, right? And so if you aren't catching the water and you're bending at your wrist, you lose you lose the fulcrum, right? And so what you have to do is you have to keep that high elbow as you pull through, right? And so you have to keep everything here intact, press through it, and keep that elbow high, right? If you drop it and you lose your wrist, it's gonna come out. And so this really helps train that EVF, that early vertical forearm. So this is the Phoenix forearm fulcrum paddle. It doesn't really give you much of a pull, but it does help with that kind of form of what you want to see is driving that elbow forward and pushing back with your forearm. Now there's one where it does give you a little bit more of a pull, and this is the Phoenix bolster paddle. And you stick your fingers through here, and you strap this part onto your hand here, and this gives you more of an actual pull while working on that EVF, that early vertical forearm, again, because it keeps your wrist in touch with your forearm through that strap, and so you have to drive that elbow forward, and it does give you more of a pull as you work through that. At the end of the day, I think any paddle would be great to use. As a sprinter, you want to have what's it called? As a sprinter, you want a bigger paddle. A bigger paddle holds more water, gives you more power as you're pulling through. As a distance swimmer, you want a smaller paddle because you're going to be pulling a lot more. You don't want to put too much strain on your shoulders. And my favorite paddle to use is the Phoenix agility paddles, and the reason why these are so great is because all you have to do is slide your thumb in there, and then that's it for the paddle. And so when you're working in multiple different sets, you don't need to take your goggles off and get your hands and put this on, and then sometimes you forget and like, oh, I didn't put my goggles on, so then you have to take it off, put your goggles on, and then put it back on. I just get up, slide it on, boom, I'm ready to go. I'm done, take it off, done, right? I don't have to worry about getting it into which finger and all of that. The other thing too is on your catch, if you cut this way, the water will pull the paddle and you'll lose it in your hand. And so it kind of helps driving that hand down and in and getting ready, setting you right up for that next pull. And so these paddles are great just because, again, it's easy off and on, transitioning between pulling sets, kicking sets, whatever. And they're just, I think they're great. I think they're great paddles by Fenus.
One thing I don't not like, but I think I'm just doing it wrong. It's just like it gets my hand right in the middle here, right where your thumb goes.
Yeah.
It hurts a little bit after pulling for a while. I think I might just be doing it wrong, honestly. But yeah,
this is all plastic.
Yeah, all plastic.
Right. So this isn't really bendy, like other paddles that have a little bit of a flex in it, have holes in it, to let water pass through, and then the cords, the bungee cords, kind of help, not pinch your skin, but definitely this part right here can cut into your skin a little bit, but still a great paddle right here. The other thing is having sculling paddles. Fenus has great ones that you just slide onto your thumb. Great for sculling, great for getting that feel in the water. If you're a younger swimmer, you need to improve your feel in the water a lot, to develop great pulling motion, to develop great form and technique. So sculling paddles, iso hand paddles, Fenus has 2 sets of those, and they're truly great. I would recommend them to younger swimmers all day long. The other thing is Fenus has a freestyler paddle where at the bottom of the paddle there's kind of like a rudder, and so if you cut out, that rudder is going to pull you out. If you cut in, it's going to pull you in, and so that rudder keeps you right there on top, getting you ready for that next catch. And so those paddles are great for just sprint freestyling, just turning and burning, and making sure you're getting that catch, just attacking that water. The next thing is resistance gloves, those ones where you kind of put that mesh bag over your hand and kind of pull with those. They add more resistance. They're great. It kind of makes the feel of the water a little bit different on your arms. The way I think about it is kind of like, how basketball players wear those gloves where they can't grip the ball as well, and so it helps with their dribbling and their ball handling, where they're not trying to grip the ball and do all of that. So that's kind of my correlation to it, is that the feel with those bags, with those mesh bags, those mesh gloves are a little bit different. It's going to feel different, but just adding that resistance and just really working on that form and technique. Once you take them off, it's phenomenal. It works so well for you. I would recommend them. I'm big on resistance, parachutes, resistance cords, stretch cords, just any sort of resistance stuff. I'm huge on those. So those gloves, those mesh gloves are fantastic to use. Yeah. Fins. For fins, I would recommend getting the short blader fins. They're better for sprinters. They're just better for all around swimming. The long ones, they tend to use more effort, and your kick becomes too big, which ruins the efficiency of your kick. So the short blade fins are great to keep that kick short. Still gives you nice, good propulsion. Great for underwater kicking when you're doing under over sets, or any sets where you're doing UDK, or which is underwater kicking, or butterfly kicking. So it's great for that. Backstroke, freestyle, obviously not breaststroke, but I would recommend you guessed it, Fenus. These are the Fenus Edge fins, and it's all silicone, so it's very stretchy, right? With other fins, they don't have as much give, right? And so when your foot's trying to move and the fin's not giving you enough give, then you start to cramp more, right? But when your fin can give while your foot's trying to move in that back and forth position, then you're not going to cramp as much. And so these fins are really great for that. It also has this heel strap, so it doesn't fall off your foot as easily, and so they have different sizes: small, medium, large, and these are just great fins. They're a little more expensive, but if you have the money, I'd highly recommend them. They have these 2 holes here for increased resistance, like less resistance, to increase how fast you're kicking and moving in the water. Phoenix also has great other fins as well, with short blades and sprinter fins and stuff like that. But again, at the end of the day, any fins are going to work. Try them on. I would always highly recommend for any of these stuff, caps, paddles, fins, like try them on. Whatever's comfortable with you is what's gonna work for you at the end of the day. All right.
Yeah, so again, for me being a swim instructor, I always just see kids like, oh, well, I would say, oh, we're gonna do fins today, and they'll just be like thinking, oh, I'm gonna go faster now. That's it. Fins just help you go faster. I mean, they do help you go faster, but that's not always the case. You know, they just start kicking randomly, and it's just terrible, and it hurts their foot, and then afterwards they complain. But yeah, just make sure, yeah, you're just kicking correctly with your fins. Don't try to kick all weird, try to make yourself go as fast as possible, because that's just going to ruin your kicks and ruin your stroke. Just make sure you're using fins to how it's supposed to be, and yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Like too often I have people put on fins and their kick just like becomes this, right? And the kick is out of the water, so they're just kicking and then it just slaps the top of the water, and they're not using the fin, and so they're not going faster at all. So utilize the fin. It's there to help give you that speed and that feel of how you want your kick to be, whether it's a dolphin kick or just a flutter kick. And too often, and when you're wearing fins, you need to focus on kicking both ways, and that's what's great about the longer blade fins, is you can feel both ways of the kick, right? When we're just using our foot, too many people just focus on that down kick, and they don't focus on the feeling of under your foot driving that up kick. And so when you have fins, work on both ways of your kick, right? So when you're driving that foot down and then drive that foot back up, you have this longer blade to help give you that feel to drive that kick back up and then back down, right? So you kind of have to think of like a monofin. If you were a mermaid, you kick both ways, right? Think of a fish. It doesn't just kick to one side, otherwise it would just go in circles, right? And so fishes kick both ways, and that's what we need to think about when we're kicking with fins on, or without fins too. That's why we have the Ryan Lochte rule, is because if you're doing butterfly kicks on your back, then you're focusing on both ways of the kick a little bit better, right? The up kick that we emphasize more, but then now you have to emphasize that down kick because you're on your back. That's why backstrokers have better underwater kicks. That's why like some programs are moving their swimmers to do their underwater kicks on their side, is because you gotta focus on both ways of the kick. They both have to be strong. So definitely, yeah, that was a good point. Utilize those fins and really kick both ways and really get that feel down. It was good.